This matchup between Djoko and Maxlore is going to be decided by mind games.
Maxlore, you know, it's a guy that I used to play a lot. I know this guy, how he's playing, what is he thinking about the meta, about like how to play, you know.
Sure, you can think that, but it's not the case. Like, I have my own way of playing, and sure, if he understands my way of playing, then he knows there's no counterplay.
Oh, Hill's somewhere you're on beat! Fine. Wash him like the bug he is!
Yeah, killable AD carry was just killed by Max.
He wants a bit more! He's gonna take a bite of the champ, and Cabo goes down as well!
Not gonna be enough just yet. Prophet decides to re-engage. Giants turn it around despite the early game strain.
Maxlore will never go for a 50-50 Nash. Never, 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 never.
I think that's actually like a true statement. Sometimes you have to take the 50-50. I took it a while.
Maxlore steals it away once again! 3K and dropping, almost nothing that they can do. Oh, Maxlore!
The difference between confidence and cocky, in my opinion, is like cocky is saying I'm good and you're bad.
They are a bit down, you know, like I'm not that good as before, you know.
I would say confidence is saying they're good, but I'm better.
He's been showing that he's good, but I can be better.
Welcome back to the LCS Studio for our match of the week between Giants and Misfits Gaming. You ready, guys? You hyped? Can we top last game? That's the question.
Ooh, that ending was pretty sick. I mean, this game could have the same kind of ending.
I'm ready. I'm not
promising anything, but it could.
I want 80 minutes. That's all I can ask for.
Oh.
Well,
if it doesn't take 80 minutes for that finish, then I'm up for it.
I agree.
Perfect. I'm glad you gentlemen are both on board. Let's start by taking a look at the lineups, starting by looking at Giants' side. Currently at a 4-2 record, tied with their opponents before this game. Of course, there's Hansama, but he's not as important, because right now I feel like we have to talk about Djoko.
The man in the jungle from Giants. One of the most active junglers in the early game, where we see a lot of cool plays, trying to at least set up some, with his top lane of Ruin. Djoko, though, does have a habit of randomly, in each game...
He invades.
He is invading when his laners are not pushing, and then suddenly he can't get punished for it. So it is a very risky playstyle he brings to the table.
But he's playing versus Maxlore, and for me, Maxlore is one of the most consistent junglers in the league right now. And that's a big stake.
Hey. Speaking of Maxlore, on the other side of the rift, we do have Misfits, so it is time to take a look at their lineup. You bring up Maxlore. Freeze, the other person I want to talk about is Hansama. Earlier today, Deficio said that he is the best AD carry currently performing in the ULCS. Do you agree with that statement?
Oh, definitely. I came back from an A, I just played solo key game versus this random kid. I didn't know who it is, and then I just got destroyed. And that hasn't happened for me for a while in lane, And then I checked after the game, who was it?
And it was me.
Hansama. No, not you. I'm not your brand.
Every champion you play, the strategy is feed and pray to God I make it to 4 items.
Yeah.
All right, well, looking ahead at the matchup, I think the other thing that we kind of want to hit is Sencux in the mid lane, right? Because as great as Hansama is doing, the kind of style overall for Misfits has changed, and it's not without criticism on our end.
Yeah, if you look at Misfits, their playstyle is hyper carry on Hansama. He has played most likely only Kog'Maw. He played some other champions, and then you look at Sencux, and he plays control mages. He's not good at the hyper carries or carries on mid lane. So what is going to happen if Hansama gets Kog'Maw banned, and then he's forced to play utility AD, and Sencux has to step up?
I mean, that's actually something that could be really interesting in the pick and ban phase, because Giants have won games when they had superior late game drafts. But when you played against Misfits, in a lot of the games, Misfits' late game ended up being better because Hansama and also Alphari on something like a GB could carry in the late game. I think if Giants can ban away key AD carries like Freeze are highlighting here, get the superior scaling on their side, suddenly they look really good going into the game.
And I really want to see exactly if we are going to see the strategy of shutting down Hansama, of taking the Kog'Maw away, or what Giants exactly want to prepare here, because we have seen a little bit more diversity in terms of strategy. Coming out today, we saw Splice running a more 1-3-1 focused composition, focused on snowballing the top lane, not the tanks that we kind of expected to see. So I'm wondering if we're going to see a transition in terms of how teams want to play.
I think we could see that from Misfits. I think Alphari is one of the best performing top laners we have, who can certainly play different carries like Camille top lane. And the thing about Sencux, while he's mainly, you know, he's not often on the big hyper carry mid laners and the guy to play around. I think when he's playing champions that can roam easily, he looks really good. Like Galio, in the past he had Aurelion Soul. I want to see a pick like Twisted Fate from someone like Sencux as well, and then play around the top side while Alphari is sitting on a carry. I can definitely see that work for Misfits.
I would love to see as well Malzahar. You know, Sencux has proven in the past that he is the Malzahar player in Europe. He brought it up, and then Malzahar, it's not a meta, but then if you play something that you're so comfortable, you will play well.
All right, gentlemen, well, we no longer have to wait. It is time for Champ Select. Giants appear on the blue side, Misfits on the red. Talked about banning out Hansama as a potential strategy. What other kind of meta bans absolutely need to be taken off the table? Zoe seems to be a good one. Are we going to see the Ryze and Azir banned out as well?
I would definitely expect it, because if you are not banning Zoe, Azir, and Ryze, you're doing something wrong. If you're not first pick.
Yeah, maybe they want to trade Azir for Ryze or the other way around, but it is something we see fairly often with multiple mid lane bans, and it's always around Zoe, Galio, Azir, Ryze specifically. There's that ban freeze mentioned against Hansama specifically. We gotta remember, Steeelback already played Jinx in this meta and could do the same here.
I could expect jungler bans now, because you know, if you look at Djoko and Maxlore, they have the similar playstyle, Sejuani ban, and Maxlore for me is more confident on the higher variety of champions. He can play different champions, while Djoko can't really.
Yeah, it's something we've seen in the past too, when he was kind of sticking to Olaf over and over again as a comfort pick when it didn't make sense in the meta as the most kind of powerful standard pick. So maybe we see the pool limited here, but still 80 carry bans being the focus.
Interesting. Xayah being taken away. Obviously, Xayah Rakan was something Misfits ran the very first game they played of the 2018 split, but it was not successful at all for them. But Giants clearly still respecting the possibility of Xayah Rakan being played.
Yeah, but now you know, like Hansama doesn't have his champions. That was Xayah and Kog'Maw he played. He didn't play anything else that proven as hyper carry for it.
I could see him play Tristana in a game like this one, or take the Varus. In the past, he loved to play Varus because of the extra utility he brought in with his ulti. It was something they utilized a lot, just have Hansama on like the utility AD carry, before we entered playoffs and worlds, where he really became a huge carry on the team.
Of course, a very different team at the time. You have Power Regal being much more of a carry-oriented player, whereas we still talk about Sencux kind of finding his footing, has been more utility. Now he is going to be going up against a carry in the mid lane, though. Betsy getting his hands on the Azir.
And this is like a classic Giants thing, you know, ban a lot of things that can scale against him, and then first pick Azir. Just be like, you know what, we want what we consider the absolute best late game pick for Betsy, and we know he can do well in team fights.
I really like this Gangplank and Ryze pick. They had to pick Ryze. That just, if you leave Azir Ryze open, they pick Azir. They have to pick Ryze. But Alphari, I think Alphari is the best GP in the Europe.
Wonder if we're gonna get Jarvan for Djoko coming in. If you want to play something like Zac, which also is available in this draft. There's still plenty of tank junglers for him. Seems to be the Zac this time around. It's pretty good also ganking Ryze in the mid lane if you want to play around Betsy's lane.
And I wonder if they'll prioritize locking 80 carry here, forcing something on the side from Misfits, because right now Misfits have revealed both their solo lanes, so if you enter that mismatch coming into second ban phase, you could see one role really singled out.
Tahm Kench is available.
Oh yeah.
Great against things like Ryze, who's single target focused, but instead they do grab the Camille.
Right, and now they can actually pick 80 carry and then just buy more 80 carries. But that would be a bit of an overkill already.
I mean, if they do take Tristana as an example, they can ban Varus and Jinx, you know, away from Steeelback and move him further down the list. But Kalista is still available in this draft.
I would love Kalista.
How is it the first time that's come up? Kalista available.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a champion that hasn't, I think, won a game
Maxlore?
in Europe. Oh! Rengar comes in. All right, so the top side of the map decided for both teams. And I feel like with only 80 carries in sports remaining, I think that Tahm Kench might get taken away. What else is on the chopping block here?
Well, you still have Kalista there, but we saw last week that teams, when they get to play Kalista in Europe, they just don't know how to play with it. And all the teams kind of like understood that it's not that strong as it's in Korea, for example.
It is interesting though with the Rengar here. Maxlore has tried a lot of times during 2017 to also bring the Rengar out. He showed it in the EU LCS final against G2, but sadly for him he ended up losing. But what I'm seeing with the Rengar is they know they're gonna get pushed from mid lane with the Ryze, which can allow Maxlore to play a little bit more aggressive or against a jungler who won't really be able to kill him 1v1, and Rengar should fairly easily get his level 6 and then start making plays around the map. Like, Tahm Kench would have been a good choice for Giants
I think
against
it's
it.
gonna be banned now. I would expect Tahm Kench ban from Giants, because you play Camille, you don't want to play versus Tahm Kench that's gonna eat your target that you want to kill.
Yeah, that's definitely one option. I also feel like Misfits don't really want to play against Tahm Kench, at least in the late game, because you jump with Rengar, Tahm Kench eats the guy, and it's like, oh, okay, Rengar now used his ult.
Yeah, but banning the Kalista instead, clearly don't want to play it themselves, don't want to give it up. They have the option to take it now, and they have a ton of map mobility if they go with this. The thing I like about this Rengar pick in particular, especially if they pair it with the Tahm Kench, is they can play the side lanes so easily with this composition.
Very, very true. Would be a good choice for them, but I'm also still looking at Tristana as a pick against Camille. When she ults you, try and shoot her out, you know, see if you can stay alive.
And
But
she can stay alive versus Camille like very easily. And then I like this Ornn. I really love Ornn. I think it's one of the strongest top laners. And then when you see game 7 a minute,
it might be bot lane this time, Freeze.
Oh yeah.
Bot lane support for Mikyx. Okay, so we know Mikyx is one of the innovators. He likes to play these more interesting champions. I like that he's picking up the Ornn now. So we're seeing the compositions start to come together. We're starting to see the full picture here on both sides. How do you expect the Giants to round this out?
Oh, they need some sort of protection with this, because there's so much dive on the side of Misfits. You know, Ornn ulti, Rengar flying in, GP ult. Like, you need something to keep your backline alive. I think that's why the Taric pick comes in. Even though Tahm Kench was still available, they seem to value the AoE ulti of Taric, because there is things like a GP ult and an Ornn ult flying towards multiple members and not just one guy getting targeted out. I really do think taking away Tristana is very smart here. Also works fine against the Rengar.
There's still Ezreal, but Ezreal is not the priority pick in Europe. But what else would you pick versus the comp? Like, you want to survive, right? And you don't really have anything that will help you other than Ornn ult.
A little concerned as the compositions are now locked in for both sides. Hansama gets his hands on the Ezreal.
I like the Ezreal, yeah.
When I look at this Misfits draft, the order which they picked in surprised me a bit. Taking the Ornn and saving AD carry for last. Maybe they were hoping for a different AD carry picked on Giant side, and they had a prepared counter pick. Like, Hansama is one of the Draven players we have who could be ready with that one. Still, Giants comp is very classic Giants. Great scaling, strong backline for Betsy and Steeelback with long range in team fights. Defensive support, in this case, not the brand, from Targamas. So when you see all the all-in coming from Misfits side, Taric pops his ult, Azir Ezreal stays alive, or Azir Tristana stays alive, and they just grind Misfits down.
You also have the Taric plus Zac pairing that we saw that's really popular in both NA and LCK. Really, really hard to get away from this champion once it's on top of you. So much chain CC. But looking at both compositions, how do each of these teams actually want to play the game? Let's start on the Misfits side.
Well, Misfits have a really good damage output and really good early and mid game. With Ezreal Ornn, they will actually push in and win the lane. And they can transition that with Ornn roaming level 6 to mid lane, pressuring Azir, and then just snaring them with GP ultimate. That's gonna be it.
And we already talked about Giants, you know, super strong late game fights with double range carries in Azir and Tristana. Keep them alive, and early game, play a bit around the Camille so she doesn't fall behind top.
All right, but talk to me about which one you actually think, or which draft you actually like better. Who actually got the edge here in Picks and Ban? Because it's two pretty different strategies in terms of what they want, but who are you predicting to take this one in the end?
Well, I would say they're even. They have the similar draft, they have the similar ideas, but I feel like Misfits draft is better.
I think Giants got all the comfort they wanted, so they will be happy with this draft.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, but we're going to have to find out in-game because it's time for us to leave it to Pyra and Vedius as the teams are ready for the Rift.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We are, in fact, loading up for our match of the week. Wouldn't you know it, Vedius, we got Azir v Ryze in the mid lane.
Yes, we do. That's the shocker. But the interesting, more topical one is down in the bottom lane, Pyra, because we see the Ornn picked. We heard the analyst talking a little bit about how the Tahm Kench is still left up and available, and it's convenient that we saw this because I had a great conversation with Kasing the other day about how effective Ornn is into Tahm Kench, because even if you try to gobble up a target, the Ornn ulti still ends up knocking the Tahm Kench ulti up, so you still end up getting CC'd, both you and the target that you're trying to save. So that's why Ornn is considered a pretty good pick. That's why it seems like there was lack of priority, which is why I actually like the adaptation of the Taric, the anti-team fight. Every time you see that Ornn ult engage come out, you can drop the Taric ultimate, and any kind of fight that Misfits try to start is immediately countered by this Taric ultimate. So I think it's going to be pretty challenging for this Misfits roster to really find a lot of these 5v5 fights, and I'm expecting a lot more of a side lane play, more of the 1-3-1, similar to what we saw in the last game.
Yeah, and I wonder if what they also said on the desk comes to fruition with the early game priority from Misfits, trying to utilize Maxlore's Rengar and the fact that Hansama and Mikyx should be able to bully in this bottom side to really push out that lane, to really turn it into the mid. We'll see how things start out. Mikyx does kick things off by getting a stun from the dazzle of Targamas.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to watching how this 2v2 plays out because it's not a matchup that we commonly see Ezreal Ornn into the Tristana and the Taric. And we heard from Freeze that typically the Ezreal Ornn should actually have early push, early trading power. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to get that as Maxlore looks for a bit of an early invade.
Yeah, trying to get on the smite. Can't quite get there in time. And Djoko was very quick on the draw to get to that red because he didn't actually go for the blue buff. Instead, he'll go later. Maxlore's kind of left wandering in his wake. The Ornn's even going in for an invade too. And there's the Raptor Camp steal off for Maxlore, trying to get a little bit away from the Giants jungler. It is those mind games. We predicted it.
I think that he... Oh, I like this adaptation here from Djoko. It's... Ooh, Maxlore already going for a bit of a gank in the middle lane.
Level 3 Rengar. Betsy, though, is already dashed out. The bull is not going to hit.
Yeah, so he's trying to get to his Raptors as fast as possible because Maxlore doesn't want to waste his time. He went in to steal away the red, wasn't able to get it, and therefore felt the need to steal away the Raptors. That means that Djoko now has to be the one to try and steal away some of the camps because he doesn't want to lose out on experience. So that forces Maxlore to immediately go from his Raptors, or enemy Raptors rather, to back to his own Raptors and force Djoko back. Fortunately for Djoko, he's able to steal away some of the Krugs and he won't walk away with absolutely nothing.
So both junglers trying to take as much off of each other as they possibly can. Some of the Krugs still ticking there. Now it's Djoko's turn to try to go for that level 3 gank. Alphari has already eaten an orange. He might have to burn his flash here. The short range hop. And he's going to be able to dodge out the goo. Turn it back around. Alphari on this top lane Gangplank. Not doing too badly so far.
And this top lane matchup is definitely one we're going to have to keep our eyes on because you heard the analyst talk about how Alphari, one of the best performing top laners right now in Europe, he definitely prefers this carry style. But Ruin, he's no real different. And we just want to look at some of the stats specifically because you can see that Ruin actually sits in first place for a lot of the early game stats. His kills plus assists, he's involved in a huge amount of the kills for his team. 78.6%, that's first. And the gap between him and Alphari, you can just see is about 20%. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Alphari is not involved with his team. He just picks these more scaling top laners, like the Gangplank, ones that deal more damage in the later game, which is why you see he has these much higher damage numbers relative to Ruin, who has a lot more lane advantage, and is then more about getting involved with his team in the early to mid game.
Yeah, you're right. He definitely puts more onus on being one of those secondary carries for the Misfits squad, whereas Ruin, he's kind of the guy facilitating, setting up this team in the early game, and he's going to run smack dab into Maxlore and those double buffs. Got to be careful. Precision Protocol on the tack sweep. Not to mention the Comet, making Maxlore think twice before he wants to keep on stealing away camps in that jungle, heading back up towards the top side. But before we get too deep into this one, let's remind everybody of the stakes. Both these teams are sitting at 4-2. You can see it right under the nameplates. Whoever wins here is going to be, solely possessing that second place spot. They would even be contending for first at Vitality, not taking the game away previously. But it's an important thing. Misfits, they come in here. There's a lot of expectations on this team. They make a couple of changes. But I think a lot of people expect them to be near the top, whereas Giants, they're the ones who are surprising.
Yes, they certainly were. I put Giants in D tier. I did not think that they would be able to perform optimally. Now we see a gank in the mid.
Well, Sencux having to burn his flash. But yeah, Giants have definitely been, not the only, but one of the big surprises of this split so far.
Yep, they certainly have been. And I think what's impressed me the most is just how proactive they've been in the early game. They recognized what compositions were good in the current meta, and just how well they've been able to utilize the comps and be proactive once they get a lead. They're just a very smart team that knows exactly what to do and where to be on the map. So, very excited to see how they grow as Hansama now getting all in the bottom lane.
Oh! Forces out the flash on the dazzle. Nicely played from Steeelback and Targamas. I was wondering what was going to happen with that very aggressive jump in for Steeelback while the Ornn was away. Mikyx on the roam, just placing down those wards, but that means that Hansama is always going to be in a little bit of danger.
Yeah, both summoner spells unavailable. TP was used for Mickey as well to get back into lane sooner. We see another return gank from Djoko up in the top lane. Remember, no flash in Alphari.
But Ruin's backing away unless he cancels this. He does have a teleport available, and he's going to actually stop. It was all a bait, turning around the tack sweep onto Alphari. No flash this time. It's going to be the return. The cannon barrage, he doesn't know it's coming. He's going to go golden for just a couple of seconds, but Ruin's still sticking around even through the cannon barrage. The goo is stuck on. He's got the root. Let's see if he has the damage to finish him. No! Alphari makes it out.
Nice outplay there, Alphari in the 2 versus 1, utilizing the Zhonyas to avoid the knockup from Djoko. And Ruin, running out of mana, wasn't confident enough to stick in the fight, so he's able to get away. And this is the praise that we were giving Alphari. Mechanically, he is very strong. When he first joined the European LCS, he was contending for that top spot, being one of the top laners in Europe.
Yeah.
But in summer, he kind of struggled. The meta didn't favor him. He was being put onto a lot of tanks. I heard a lot from Hussein Husvi how he was always being told, are you looking forward to playing another Maokai game today? And he didn't enjoy it. It was definitely not his favorite meta.
How to tilt your top lane.
Yeah, exactly. But now this is definitely a meta that suits him. This is the one that he found a lot of success on in the Challenger Series, being that carry. And it's what Misfits need, because Sencux hasn't been performing to a level that Power of Evil was during the summer of last split, and both Hans Sama and Alphari have required to level up in order to maintain the high performance of Misfits.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Hans Sama, though, because he really has kind of changed in his role on the team. We remember back to 2017 in the summer, in the regular split especially, he wasn't putting out those huge damage numbers. We were asking the question over and over again as Maxlore goes in to try and get that steal. We'll pick back up on that in just a second. He has to bail out. Hans Sama took a little while before he kind of revved up into that secondary carry, and now he's pretty much the primary carry.
And this is why it was a big shock to many people, because going into playoffs and going to Worlds, expectations were that Hans Sama would not be able to compete with some of the top talent that not only we had in Europe, but especially what we had going into that international competition. Yet he did step up, and then he maintained it upon returning to Europe. He had a new support. This guy has grown a lot over the last year, and he's now arguably the best AD carry in Europe, who now has no summoner spells and is 2v3.
Flash back from Djoko there.
I think he wanted to
Something
drag
spooked him.
Hans Sama into the minion wave using the Q auto, but unfortunately he didn't quite do it quick enough and was out of range, which means Hans Sama could just walk away. So Flash now unavailable for Djoko.
Yeah, but I like what you said about, kind of, he's at this point, at this precipice where he is considered by many to be the best AD carry in Europe, and he's really been stepping it up for his team overall. And his journey is so linked with that of Misfits. And last year, it was all about the year plan. We're going to get to Worlds, we're going to improve. Hans Sama has kind of leveled up alongside that team. When he first came into the European LCS, he had some hype, but he was like this Draven main who just had some big outplays, and that's about all we saw of him. I mean, this guy is so different than when he started.
Certainly is, and you look across the board too at an individual like Steeelback, who has quite a fabled story behind him. Might not have time for that. Sencux in the mid.
Good shuffle. Let's see if they get the damage out. Sencux gonna have to flash away from his own teleport. He misplays the combo, and he's going down. That's first blood for Betsy.
Not entirely sure what Sencux was doing there. I wonder if the stopwatch was... I feel like a stopwatch was available. He decided not to use it and flash instead. And he ends up going down first blood in favor of Giants. We talked about how Sencux has not been performing. He has been the weak link right now for Misfits that Giants have been looking to try and abuse, especially given the recent strong performances that Betsy's had, especially his Azir game last week.
Yeah, gotta give Betsy some credit right now, and Sencux gonna have to teleport back to lane. No summoners left for him right now, no ultimate, no stopwatch. That's gotta hurt.
So we'll have a look back, see how this one plays out. Doesn't expect the all-in. I'm sure he had timed his Zhonya's there. Not entirely sure why he decided to do that. Definitely a big misplay from the mid laner of Misfits.
Well, it is a minor setback for this team. They're still rocking that gold lead, and you can see Maxlore. He may not have been able to secure any ganks up, but he's going to start them off on an Ocean Drake. This is a team, though, that want to get off to an early start. We heard from the analyst, you've got some high damage. They have a lot of push ability. We expected them to do a lot in the bottom lane and turn that into mid lane pressure. Well, that can't really happen if your mid laner is getting 1v2'd.
It's very true. Early game, definitely not going to go the way that Misfits ideally would have liked. But again, you look at the two side lanes, Pyra. Gangplank, Ezreal. CS lead onto Alphari, CS lead onto Hans Sama. This was what Vedius was talking about in terms of the 2v2. They have the pressure in the bottom lane. Alphari playing this matchup extremely well. Typically, during the laning phase, you would expect Camille to have that extra bit of pressure. And once she gets String 4, she definitely will outscale in her side lane. But the fact that Alphari is farming so well, trading very effectively, is definitely going to do a lot of benefits. Now we see the roam in mid for Mickey.
All right, call the Forge God, forcing the flash out of Betsy, and Maxlore was there for good measure, didn't hop on his thrill of the hunt. Maxlore's been around for some of these attempts, but hasn't really shown up too much just yet. Mikyx even with the push. Nobody was available on the bottom side as Hansam had backed away. Misfits trying to be proactive here, but so far their efforts have come to nil. Let's see if that changes. Alphari turns it back onto Ruin. That's a lot of minions to be fighting in, and there's no backup just yet. Maxlore's there as of now.
I liked the reaction there from Betsy, deciding not to go with Cleanse, instead going for the heal. Could hurt him later on, but I guess he's acknowledged the fact that there is a limited amount of single target crowd control, and he can just build his Zhonya's later to deal with the Ryze route, should he need to. I like the positioning of Djoko this game. He's fallen a little bit behind in terms of farm, but he has been there to help support his mid laner who gets ganked once again.
Yeah, there's the support you're talking about. Maxlore trying to go in for a second wind. He goes gold himself, and Sencux trying to come around the side to chunk down Betsy, who has no flash available. Djoko's going to get the better of his opposite number, but let's see how the fight is going to turn out. Sencux locked up by 2 here, and he is going to fall once more. A few more auto attacks. They actually don't decide to finish him off until Ruin picks up the tag sweep. That is a 1-for-2 trade.
Maxlore goes for a hard engage onto Betsy, but very quickly the rest of Giants are able to respond. Mikyx was not involved in that fight, whereas Targamas was. Would love to see how quickly he was able to join the rest of the team, because he was one of the big swing factors that prevented Alphari from really committing to that skirmish. Misfits still hold on to the gold lead, even though Giants are finding a lot of these early kills.
Now, let's see that replay again. It all started with Djoko and Betsy getting found out by Maxlore.
So it takes a while for Sencux to actually get into the fight. You can see how far he has to walk around, so Maxlore's just stuck in this 1 versus 2. Very quick TP from both top laners, and they end up initially trading 1-for-1, but that Targamas, he's already on the roam. He joins the fight so much sooner than Mikyx. And if Alphari and Sencux were able to consistently stay in the fight and go for this 2v2, maybe they could have gotten more out of it. But because it ended up being a 2v3 and Alphari got zoned away, there's little Sencux can do, and Giants end up winning the skirmish.
Yeah, so despite the fact that Misfits have been attempting to make some of those plays in and around the mid lane, it's Giants who come up with the advantage. Still a very small gold lead, almost negligible at this point. Well, excuse me, I'd say about 1,000 is actually not negligible. Over to Misfits, a lot of that's off the Kleptomancy, off the CS differential. Hansama out farming Steeelback. And of course, with the Gangplank up towards the top side, but no towers have fallen just yet. Hansam and Mikyx still trying to put some pressure on this dual lane down on the bottom side. But the early pressure, it just hasn't been maybe what we expected from this Misfits team just yet. Giants are holding strong. They're finding ways to turn these early skirmishes in their favor.
And I want to take an opportunity to quickly run through one of the things that Misfits are good at when it comes to vision. Look at their inventory, Pyra. Control wards littered across the board. And it is the reason as to why Misfits have an insanely high vision score. They're currently first in our league. It's the fact that they invest so much in controlling the map early on. They're not usually a high gank team. They're much more about the mid to late game where they just invest in vision. They look for picks. They're smart about where they move on the map. But this game, they've shifted their playstyle a little bit more. They've invested a little bit more into finding those early ganks and looking for a couple of early trades.
Yeah, it does seem like this might be a little bit of a week of experimentation for a couple of teams. Misfits not the only ones to kind of shake up their style. We saw what Rocket were doing in the last game, just dragging Vitality all over the place, and scaling be damned. 15 minutes in the clock, though. We still see the gold lead for Misfits. We see a couple item spikes coming into fruition. Alphari's got himself his Trinity Force. He's pretty much weathered all the storm that was Ruin up towards the top. Maxlore going on in for another invade. No, just popping on Scryer's Bloom.
The problem for Alphari is, as the game progresses, that Camille is going to get much stronger. It's not until Alphari decides to build up that crit that he should be able to hold his own against the Camille. But around the 2-3 item spikes, I do expect Camille to have that advantage. In the meantime, though, Misfits going for that swap, as you identified, Pyra. Will allow Hansama to maintain that gold advantage, but Giants they're still in a pretty comfortable spot. Yes, they're at a slight gold deficit due to the CS discrepancies, but they do have a scaling composition. We heard a lot about how the Analyst talks in terms of this team's ability to team fight. Camille is one of those champions that she's not the best split pusher, she's not the best team fighter, but she can offer value in both. And I think that when you have the Tristana Azir, their ability to siege and their ability to team fight is definitely something they can take advantage of and are not afraid of falling behind in the early game.
And Giants are no wishy-washy team either, right? Like when they do start to get these leads, when they pull ahead, they get in the driver's seat and they're very decisive. They make the plays, they make the calls, they go all in together.
The problem I've identified with Giants is that they're not actually very good at being proactive at getting their lead back. Often when they find the lead, it's because they successfully punish the mistakes of their opposition. And the moment they punish, then they've been able to suddenly turn the fight back in their favor. And this could be one of those punishments, except not Misfits' side.
All right, well, they do get the Cosmic Radiance down, and Targamas and Steeelback has already hopped away. That's a 3-man stun here, buying time for Djoko and Betsy to try and arrive. The shuffle, it's going back the opposite way, but they've got the damage on Mikyx, separated Hansama from the team. That's a lot of chunk damage. Let's see if they can pull Hansama back in. Not nearly enough, forcing the heal. Nobody's going down there. That was a close call, though, and the True Shot Barrage is dodged out.
Like the response there from Giants, really good stun from Targamas, landing onto 3 members, and then a quick collapse from Betsy and Djoko. But as you identified, no one ends up dropping, and Misfits should be the ones to still have priority over this objective. Mikyx even TPs in for good measure, and given that Hansama is in the top lane, I think they're more than happy to have that summoner spell invested. So, good plays from both sides. Djoko now, oh no, he does have the team behind him, but Misfits immediately forced to disengage.
Riptail's been a hot objective this day. Oh, man.
But look, there's
not the first time we've seen him be fought over. This is going to be an open chance, though. Giants, they can try and knock down this tower quick.
Yeah, Betsy's been playing the laning phase pretty well, especially with the support that he's had from Djoko. Means that this mid lane tower has been taking a lot of chip damage, and given the Misfits were forced up through the river, will mean that Sencux is now forced to TP back to the middle lane, but Alphari's still doing work off on a side lane. He should actually secure the first tower of the game.
All right, gets stunned, but he does finish the job. Let's see if he's going to be able to try and 1v1. It's going to be tough. There goes the Hextech ultimatum. Djoko's coming in to give some backup over to Ruin. I don't think he's going to need it. The Pirate goes down. Djoko gets the kill.
Yeah, good stun there from Ruin. Alphari had already used his orange and his ultimate was not available. If he'd had it, maybe Alphari could have turned the fight in his favor. But getting that kill, definitely going to help a lot for Giants off in a side lane. But Misfits, they're continuing their pressure in a side lane of their own.
Yep, Sencux up on the top should be able to get a serious amount of damage on this. I don't know if he can finish it off with the minion wave as it is for now. But Giants are more interested in finally polishing off that mid. They look for Hansama, who Arcane shifts away, I should say. Djoko takes a lot of damage before he goes gold. He just might go down. The Forge God's calling. Mikyx pushes it back towards Djoko. Oh, trying to dodge out. No blobs pop today.
Hansama. See, now in my head, I would have E'd forward and tried to get the last hit onto Djoko, but he respected the Azir ulti that could have knocked him into the rest of the team. So here, Alphari uses the orange. Unavailable for him. A lot of good trade damage coming out from Ruin, especially now that he's completed the Trinity Force. If Alphari had the ultimate and perhaps Djoko didn't show up, he certainly could have won that 1v1, but Ruin had the confidence that his teammate was on the way and that he had the ultimate advantage. So well played there from Giants, securing themselves another kill and currently sit with the kill lead.
4-1 is that kill lead, and Misfits, they've still got the gold differential in their favor. It's 1 tower to 0, but you got to think that's going to be changing pretty darn soon. Map's starting to open up just a little bit. You see Steeelback's Tristana up towards the top side, joined by Targamas. Not going to be able to finish anything off because Sencux is obviously coming to the rescue, but the rest of Misfits are congregating around this mid lane. Everyone's fixated on those mid towers. I think I just saw Rift Herald popped, yeah. And the Baron is about to spawn, and that has been a very good objective for Giants this split.
Yeah, it's 75% of the Barons the Giants have played for, they have secured. They are first in Barons right now. Djoko looking for a bit of an engage. Ooh,
so does Ruin. He's found Mikyx right now, and he's locked up inside the ultimatum. Has to flash and dash. Let's see if he can get away. No, he's followed by Ruin.
Nice.
Bloodthirsty top laner.
Stepping up this game. He struggled a little bit in the laning phase, but this is what we talked about. In the early to mid game, Ruin brings his lead to the rest of his team, already grouping up in the middle lane at 20 minutes, trying to find an opportunity to help out the rest of his team, secure another objective, and not allow Misfits total control over this game. And it's fascinating because you'd expect Giants to have the gold lead at this point, but it's largely just because of the kleptomancy on the Gangplank that's allowing them to find this. So Mikyx, he's just trying to clear vision. He thinks that he has pressure mid because he has the Ezreal. He doesn't respect the fact that both Zach and Camille can kind of appear out of nowhere due to the long range that they have on a lot of their abilities. So
yeah, that was a sick hookshot flash. The kill difference is kind of holding it up, but Misfits do have those 2 towers to 1, right? They have been playing the objective game well.
So I want to, if we can, observers, can we just flip over to the gold and have a look at some of the gold that has been picked up? So you can see advantage built up behind some, a lot of it in the CS advantage, but also the kleptomancy. And in the top lane, a 1.1k gold lead, even though Camille has 2 kills. That is the power of kleptomancy. That is where this gold lead is coming from. And that is why Misfits currently sit in the lead with the 2 tower advantage that they do currently have as well.
question is, now that we're into the thick of the mid game, is that going to be enough for this team? They mentioned on the desk, of course, and you talked about it in game, the hyperscaling, Steeelback, Tristana, Ruin, we've already seen his damage start to get pretty nasty. And of course, Azir late game's always going to be disgusting too.
Oh yeah.
So Giants, I mean, they've kind of got everything in the book for your typical Season 8. We're going to just 5v5 you.
Certainly seems like it. But what I also love about Giants is how proactive they're again being in the early game. The thing about Zach for Djoko is it allows him to find so many ganks. He's been involved in 4 of the 5 kills this game. And he would have been involved in all 5 if Ruin had greedily stolen that last one from Mikyx. So I love how active this jungler has been. You compare him across the board to Maxlore, how the hype video was all about those two, and Djoko understands the playstyle of Maxlore. Maxlore says there has no counterplay to it. Well, so far in this early game, Djoko feels like he's had the number on Maxlore.
Yeah, he's definitely had the ganks. Maxlore's tried a handful of times, but it's kind of been botched attempts. And with Rengar, you kind of need to be able to get some of those pickups. And yeah, it's still kind of a threat, but the bigger and bigger the team gets, they're not going to worry about. There's a lot of peel on their side. Now let's see, fight started. Djoko's going to pull in Mikyx, and he's going to pull him back, in fact. And Cosmic Radiant's coming down on 3. They decide to disengage here, but no, it's just a feint. Teleporting, coming back in. Ruin has found Mikyx. They're just trying to beat up on the Ornn, and do they have the damage to finish him? It's going to get turned around. Alphari is already going to find one, looking for Djoko. Pops him into blobs, and Mikyx is able to limp away. Giants biting off more than they can chew. Misfits, it's a superior fight for this team. They pick up 2 kills to 0.
Giants try to find a pick onto Mikyx, but he survives for so long and is able to stall out for the rest of Misfits to arrive. Yes, their composition is great in the mid to late game, but at this point, Misfits feel strong and they found another pick.
Yes, they can. Sencux even coming around the side. Steeelback's going to go golden, and Targamas goes down because Sencux turns his attention right over, and as soon as that stopwatch ends, it's Baron time.
Wow, 23 minutes into the game, and Misfits have their eyes on the Baron. Maxlore will be able to jump over with the blast cone, but what a big blunder from the Giants squad as they tried to force a fight, and it ends up backfiring.
Yeah, all those kills they picked up in the early game kind of just got turned around. Misfits picking up a huge swing, 5 members grabbing the Baron at 23.5 minutes. We got to see that fight one more time.
So they thought that they had just caught Mikyx out. Forcing a fight at this point in the game is not ideal, so they just want to disengage here. But with Ruin TP flanking in, they decide to re-engage and commit, and this is the big mistake from Giant. They think they can kill Mikyx faster than they actually can, and Hansama is just freely dealing damage on the backline. That allows Misfits to shred through the front line of Giants, while Steeelback, I feel like his contribution in the fight was little to none. Misfits, at this point in the game, felt much stronger. They played the fight better, and they were able to outclass Giants and secure themselves a Baron.
Well, that's going to take a few notches off of Giants' Baron record. As Misfits finding themselves a lot of objectives in this game. 2 towers, 2 dragons, now the Baron buff. Might be difficult for this team. They still have scaling, but that's going to be a while before it really matters too much. Misfits with a solid gold lead of about 6,000, trying to knock down a couple of towers after all said and done. So far, just content to push around side lanes. Look for a trap, maybe. Hansama hiding in the brushes is Ezreal.
Would love to have another look at the gold after that fight, because you can see that gold lead snowballed from a small 2K up to 6. And just look at the difference between the top laners and AD carries right now. Again, the 2 carries for Misfits. We talked so much about Alphari and Hansama stepping up this split. Putting this kind of gold on them just gives them the best case scenario to be that carry.
Yeah. Get the investment in early, and once it all comes to fruition, they're going to have a lot of damage. And, you know, like, I've been talking a lot about, like, Giant scaling, right? But you still got some late-game damage. Alphari's going to be a beast in this late game. The Ryze of Sencux is going to be fine. Hansama is going to do a lot, and a lot of it's going to come down to those that poke damage. So they've definitely got some team fight, too. Maxlore hasn't actually had to do too much this game. Now, the fight is coming on. He's going to try to get a flank around the side. Let's see if they can just secure this tower up. It was all just to chase them away with Call of the Forge God.
Exactly that, Pirate. Just wanted to zone his opposition off the tower. Misfits secure their 3rd and final outer tower. And even though Giants are at a massive gold deficit, there are still avenues for them to come back into the game. The engage of Djoko is still very strong. Ruin in a side lane, now that he's picked up the red buff. Still duel up against the Gangplank, but it will be tricky if Alphari does have his ulti available. I look at this team fight and I'm still thinking, okay, yes, Giants still have an avenue. The big issue that Giants are struggling with right now is how early they gave away this Baron. They're going to lose a lot of control over the map. You can already see the vision difference on the minimap. Remember, we talked about that vision score earlier. If we just dim some of the lights on the map right now, you can see the difference between how much control Giants have, which is, okay, they have a bit of jungle control in their own side, but you compare that across the Misfits, and they have the whole map littered up. They see everything on the side of Giants, and it all comes off the back of that Baron that they picked up a few minutes ago.
Clearly did not see Misfits coming on that one. Checks in, Giants, they've got to back away as their jungle is just completely warded up, and the 1-3-1 is on here. Mikyx, Maxlore, Hansama making up the bulk of it, but GP on the top, Sencux on the bottom. It's a 1v2, and Sencux is having a blast. Look at Targamas' health bar. Oh man, that was too close for comfort.
Gotta say about Sencux, I was watching his games last week, and he definitely steps up in the mid game. Yes, his laning phase could do with a bit of work, but once he's gotten a couple items under his belt, and he's free to just play his own way, then you start to see him be a lot more confident, be a lot more like a playmaker. And that's why Misfits as a team seem to be much more tailored towards the mid to late game style of play. But this time around, they've got a pretty significantly 9,000 at 27.5 minutes into the game. And I think that they don't want to wait for the late game power. I think they want to try and end this relatively quick.
I am inclined to agree with you. It's a pretty decent Baron power play for the Misfits side. As it all ends said and done, they able to demolish a couple more towers. 4 is their total score, and it really does go back to how they've changed up their style. Their two carries are different than what they had last year, but that doesn't mean Sencux is a non-factor. He's definitely been stepping it up. This game in particular, we're seeing some good play from him outside of that laning phase. A few questionable decisions, but hey, if you make the play when it counts, it doesn't really matter if you give up first blood, does it?
Well, I mean, a lot of people will meme about it, but yes, that is true.
Well, that does matter. Don't let your memes be dreams, Vedius.
That is the plan. Now, for Giants, they don't really have control over any part of the map. But Misfits, it's difficult for them to just siege up towards these tier 2 towers because Giants have a lot of wave of it. Azir, Tristana, they're able to pretty effectively wipe away a lot of the minions as they approach the tower, given that the range and the amount of burst that they do have on the 2 champions. So Misfits are very much waiting for either a pick or an objective to spawn so that Misfits can force Giants into a fight, which at this point in the game, they feel confident they can win.
Yeah, inclined to agree for sure, and maybe they're not going to give them an opening for 5v5. However, there is a lot of ability for the Misfits to get places pretty quickly. Got Sencux's ultimate, Alphari's teleport, Maxlore doesn't want to try and take a one-on-one up against Djoko, who's pretty tanky on that Warmog's armor as well as the Cinder Hulk. We've also got a few other item spikes, right? The Tristana 3-item spike has come through.
That's very true.
Steeelback is definitely going to be able to push back not just those waves, but those health bars. And Ruin in a 1v1, I don't think really anyone from Misfits wants to take him on.
Well, I think Alphari, based on how he's been skirmishing, has shown that he's pretty confident that he can hold his own in the 1v1. I'm excited to see how the two match up, but Djoko always seems to be near. The big thing we have to talk about with Djoko is, yes, maybe he did have the early advantage over Maxlore, but look at the level difference.
Yep, look at the CS difference.
The farm that he sacrificed in the early game is now starting to bite him as Maxlore level 15, same as his AD carry. And when you're a jungler at level 15 in any game at 29 minutes, just under 30, I'm a pretty happy jungler.
And you don't even have kills and you're playing an assassin.
Yep.
Maxlore is just having a blast.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of kill threat. I don't know how quickly that Targamas ultimate is going to come down, but we'll keep an eye on it as the fights progress. Baron spawning in about 35 seconds. This was the objective we were talking about, Pyra. This is what Misfits are going to look to try and take advantage of. Either force Giants into a fight or secure it for free.
Well, Giants do have a little bit of vision coverage around the Baron pit side. Most of it, of course, invested in their own jungle towards the bottom. Pings on Alphari. He's pushing the wave solo. Instead, he's actually just going to be walking it out. So Misfits, they go back, they spend their gold, they regroup a little bit. Giants are not keen to give up another objective. Ruin sitting towards the bottom, but he does have teleport. Set the stage for another European Baron dance, but Misfits have the decided advantage in this one.
Top is pushing in the favor of Misfits, but Ruin has caught the wave and is pushing that one back out. Here comes the engage from Mikyx.
Okay, they get a little bit of a slow, no knockups here. Maxlore hunting, but Giants have already beat a hasty retreat. Ping on to the kitty cat. They know where he is.
Going straight back towards the Baron. Ruin sitting in the bottom lane. Let's see what Misfits decide to force. Alphari actually going to the bottom lane himself. Misfits, after that failed initiation, deciding instead to just regroup, reclaim vision control around that area of the map. Bit of poke being thrown up by Misfits. Djoko not quite able to find an engage.
Yeah, Hansama, all that poke keeps on chucking it out. Of course, the story of this game, maybe a little bit less about him, and we're seeing the damage coming in from all sides with Sencux, with Alphari. Ensemble will still have it, of course, but consistency. You've got 3.5 items on that GP. Compare that to Ruin, he's only sitting on 2.
And for Giants, this game is a big deal because there's still a lot of doubt surrounding them. Are they a team that's really deserving of the top of the table? Being able to challenge Misfits would be a big sign of that. The Baron is low.
It's going to go over, and it's going to be secured up. Now, can they win this fight? Shuffling back, Mikyx, and Cosmic Radiance comes down. Betsy's already got one. Maybe they can just pull this one off. Sencux isolated around the side, but Alphari coming in, looking for Steeelback. He hops away. Ruin incredibly low, and Hansama is going to get Targamas, but the rest of Giants have regrouped. They do lose 2. Will they lose another? It's going to be Betsy going down. A triple kill for the Azir before it's all said and done, though. That's a 3-for-3 fight, but Giants get the Baron.
Yeah, this was a massive fight for Giants. They just rushed the Baron. Misfits dropped the ball with regards to vision, and they rush it down. Tristana, Azir, very fast Baron-taking team. And you'd think that in the pit, this would be perfect for Misfits, but this is the value of that Taric ultimate. Look, it hits onto 4 members, and they're able to just buy enough time that they can quickly shut down Maxlore. They can turn their attention over to Sencux. Steeelback even survives in the fight. And when you think that Alphari can clean things up, Betsy comes up huge and is able to get a triple kill at the very end of it. Misfits, they drop the ball, and Giants, they've now gotten a foot back in the game.
Indeed they do, and they've of course got that scaling on their side. As you were pointing out before that fight, it is definitely big for these guys, because even though they are sitting at the 4-2 record, there are still doubters. They didn't have expectations coming into this split. Misfits, on the other hand, these guys are the heroes of Europe. They went to Worlds. They took SKT to 5 games. They took down TSM. That's always going to earn you points in Europe. But right now, they're struggling against this Giants team.
Oh, I love the decision-making there from Giants. They knew they had to make a play around Baron. They secure the objective, and now they can stall out a little bit more, get to that late-game win condition where they're confident in their scaling. I'm really impressed with how Betsy has been playing too. The fact that he gets a triple kill in that fight, his positioning was very good. Yes, he lost his life in the end, but overall, I would argue that it was worth it. The biggest issue Giants now have is that they only have Baron on 2 of their members, which is naturally not ideal. But still, it is better than giving it over to Misfits, who currently sit with the gold lead. And this is more of the game that we wanted, Pyro. We didn't want a one-sided stomp from Misfits. We wanted a clash of 2 of the top table teams. And so far, Giants are able to bring back some of the fight to Misfits.
Yeah, proving it's not a fluke either. Giants, they can definitely tango with the top dogs. 34 minutes into this game. There is that big gold lead. It's still very sizable. Baron buff, though, for another minute. The Giants hanging tough. Another dragon will spawn. This should be easy work for Maxlore and the rest of Misfits, but maybe not the dragon they want. It's only been a little bit of speed, a little bit of regeneration. I'm sure they probably would prefer if an Infernal would hit the Rift, but that's going to be the last of the Elemental Drakes this game.
Misfits have had good control over those Drakes. Means that Elder Drake win condition is definitely a scary one. Baronmouth going to run out soon. Giants not really able to get a huge amount from it. Still only 2 towers to 4. Ruin still sitting in the bottom lane though. Could Maxlore look for a pick, or is he just waiting for an unsuspecting Giant to walk through the jungle?
Uh-oh, he does... Oh, I think he saw Alphari. That might have made the difference there.
You are correct, Pyro.
I'm glad I noticed it.
Yeah, Ruin was definitely going to face Jay.
So Misfits are going to back away. The Baron buff will expire, and it looks like Giants aren't able to get any towers for their trouble. They do get a little more chip damage courtesy of the minions up towards the top side. But as you pointed out, more important to deny it from Misfits. It's one less objective for them to try and secure on this map. So Misfits look to reset. They still have the gold advantage. They still know that they can fight it out. But the timer's ticking. Betsy's got his death cap up. You see Steeelback with the Bloodthirster. These guys aren't getting any weaker.
Agreed. Tristana is going to be hitting really hard in these drawn-out fights. Definitely would be more scared of the Tristana than I would be of the Ezreal. And I think when you have a front line in a Zac, it's really hard to hit through as an Ez. This Taric ultimate is going to be doing a huge amount of work as well. We already saw what it was able to do in the last Baron fight, with the next Baron spawning in about 3 minutes to 2 minutes, something like that. It's going to be a big objective. In the meantime, both teams just going to farm. We're in that neutral game again, Pirate. We've seen it multiple times today. Feel like we're going to have another long game.
Quite possibly. I always look at these compositions and sometimes think, well, okay, if it gets to a certain point in the game, the team with the better scaling should, in theory, win.
You would think that.
But it's not always the case.
Yeah, Brock at very near.
League of Legends is not that simple of a game.
Yeah, it certainly is not. But it's just farming now, Pyra.
Yeah. And this also is pretty good for the GP too, right? Like, he's going to be ridiculous. The damage once he can pop those barrels is always going to be terrifying.
I mean, just look at the items, right? 3 completed items on Ruin, 4.5 completed for Alphari. So, yeah, he's pretty happy. I imagine he's going to go for Infinity Edge now, and then he'll sell something for
another
Infinity Edge.
Ooh, hey, Giants.
Death Brush, Death Brush, Death Brush.
Hansam and Mikyx. I don't know if they're going to check this. And Giants get a little impatient here. Let's see. Oh, they get the pull off onto Hansam. He's going to have to burn his flash. Don't have the damage, though. That's Blue Ezreal. You can't hit him that easily. Now, Giants, they might have gone a little bit too deep. Cosmic Radiance comes in on 2, and Alphari has the Cannon Barrage popping, but let's see if they split them up from the fight. In goes. Oh, Mikyx just falls in the midst of it all. I thought he was going to stand a little longer than that one, and now Djoko is going to bring Hansama back in. That's a double kill for Betsy, and Hans is isolated from the team. Giants, another triple kill for Betsy. They're marching down the mid lane.
Look at the excitement from the staff of Giants as they rip through this Misfits team. That gold lead means nothing to this Giants roster as they get a successful fight, and they should secure an inhibitor. Maybe with those death timers, even look for the game.
Sencux is going to have to be the hero right now because this Giants train is off the rails. Sencux goes in, tries to find it, but it's not going to happen. That's the ace. That's the game. Giants are proving they are the real deal up against the Misfits. And as the Nexus falls, they got to love it.
Fantastic game there from Giants. I was not expecting them to end it off a single fight.
Wasn't even in the Baron pit, man.
They shut down Maxlore in every single engage that he tried to force. The damage output from Betsy was phenomenal. 8, 2, and 3 he finished with on Azir. My word, Giants. If this does not prove that they're a top team in Europe, yeah, I don't know what does, Pyra.
Yeah, Giants absolutely deserving to be sitting in that second place spot right now. Cool, calm, collected. All it took was one big fight. They were very coordinated. I mean, there were a couple of misplays from this team. There were a couple of strange decisions, but they kind of trusted that they could 5v5. And they were the ones who started that fight on Hansama, and they just kept going.
And we talked about how this is a team that they try to look to be proactive when they have a lead. They went for the Baron. It was a bit of a risky call, but at the same time, they recognized the positioning of Misfits and realized, I think we can secure this before they can answer. They team fought extremely well. And then once they had the Baron, they stalled out, and then they looked for another fight. They looked for the full-on 5v5. And rather than taking the Roccat strategy of playing the 1-3-1, playing the side lanes, Misfits tried to engage back. They tried to force a fight back onto this team fight composition where they just got shut down. Giants, they outperformed, they outplayed, and they secured the win and secured that second place spot here in Europe.
And everybody did exactly what they needed to. Smiles on the face of Djoko as Naruto is talking to him after the match. He was the big engage man. We saw Targamas setting up those crucial ultimates from the Taric to make sure the members weren't going down. We saw Betsy dishing the damage. Everybody did what they needed to, man.
Yeah, it was a great game from Giants. Things were looking a little shaky. I thought it was pretty much game, set, and match the moment the Misfits secured that very early Baron and had like a 10,000 gold lead.
It certainly looked like it, didn't it?
It looked like it, but impressive performance from Giants. They found an effective way to come back. And as we said, they now hold the sole position of second place in Europe.
Can't take that away from the Giants now. Ahead of this split, Youngbuck left the reigning champions G2 Esports for the rivals Fnatic, and we're going to get a chance to talk to him after the break before his team step on stage for their game against the Unicorns of Love. Don't miss it.
Time for that Sencux in the mid. Shuffle, let's see if they get the damage out. Sencux gonna have to flash away from his own teleport.
He misplays the combo and he's going down. That's first blood for Betsy. Ruin has found Mikyx. They're just trying to beat up on the Ornn. Do they have the damage to finish him? It's gonna get turned around. Alphari is already gonna find one looking for Djoko. He hops away. Ruin incredibly low, and Hansama is gonna get Targamas, but the rest of Giants have regrouped. They do lose 2. Will they lose another? It's going to be Betsy going down. A triple kill for the Azir. But now Djoko is going to bring Hansama back in. That's a double kill for Betsy. And Hans is isolated from the team. Giants, another triple kill for Betsy. Goes in, tries to find it, but it's not going to happen. That's the ace. That's the game. Giants are proving they are the real deal up against the Misfits. And as the Nexus falls, they got to love it.